Good afternoon. We're here with Julia and Stephanie, and I am Matt Spears for those of you that don't know, and I'm a technology integrator here in Chesterfield, and I'm going to pass the torch and let Stephanie and Julia showcase all the awesome stuff that they're doing with Desmos and their students.
All right, Matt, thank you very much, and welcome to Digital Learning Day. My name is Stephanie Burton. I'm a math coach here in Chesterfield County, and I'm with Julia West, and she's at Providence. I'm sitting here enjoying my time at Falling Creek today, and we are excited to bring you this information about Desmos. So if you haven't joined our Google Classroom yet, I'm going to really quickly share that code so that you can join. We'd like you to join, and we'd like you to join the classroom. We're going to be posting under this topic 115 coordinate plane. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and post them there. But when you join our classroom, would you go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us who you are, tell us the school you're with, tell us what you teach, and let us know if anyone's watching you. We appreciate that. So let's go ahead and get started with Julia West at Providence as she tells us about Desmos.
Hi, my name is Julia West. I'm an MSM1 teacher at Providence, and I've tried to build in, I think I'm talking. I've tried to build in some stuff for MSM1 all the way up through Algebra 1. So I'm going to go ahead and screen share my screen with you all so that you can see everything I'm on. And we're going to start by going to www.desmos.com. It's an online graphing calculator. And what I do is I usually just give the students the link. You can put it in their Google Classroom, or you can have them type it in, whatever works best for you. And then we're going to go to Start Graphing. And this is the screen that's going to show up. This is your just kind of generic graphing screen in Desmos. I'm going to show you a couple different things you can do, and the kids do not sign in. They don't need to sign in. They can do all of this without any sort of account information or anything. So it's a great like end of the class type of thing too, if you have a few minutes and want to do something kind of fun with the kids. So one of the things that I do first is I go over to the right and I zoom in or zoom out. And I usually like for my kids to have an interval from 0 to 5 so that they're seeing each one of these as 1, which is what they're used to, especially in an MSM1 class when they don't have a lot of graphing experience. So what we're going to do is we're going to plot the points. I'm going to start with over here on the left side. This is where you'll spend most of your time working. So I'm going to plot the point 2, 4. And one thing I love about Desmos is that it will not let the students plot points without putting parentheses around the ordered pairs, commas between the numbers. It really helps them with good like entering form for math. So we're going to show a label because I always try to label everything. It's good. It helps them stay organized with it. So we're going to label the point A. And then this is kind of what I would first do with the kids. You can be asking them, what quadrant is the point in? How many units is it from the x-axis? How many units from the y-axis? You can ask lots of questions about it. And then I'm going to go ahead and put in another point also at -1, 1. And I'm going to label it point B. So now I've got 2 points. One thing that I did with my MSM1 kids is I had them explain to each other, how would you go from point B to point A, or from A to point B, kind of thinking about it as a map, which is setting them up in Algebra 1 for them to do slope later on. In 7th grade, you might use it. You could have them plot some points and practice reflecting it across the X or Y axis. That might be a use for it in that curriculum. So this is kind of the basics, something that I would start with the kids. And when you're done with it and you're ready to get rid of the points, you just click on the top right corner in the X, and then your screen goes back to normal. And I'm just going to leave my viewing window with an interval of 1. Another thing that I used the coordinate plane for a lot this year was I tried to really combine coordinate plane with the area and perimeter unit because it's very close together in the MSM1 curriculum. So I want to show you how to make rectangles or squares. And to do that, I'm going to go to the top left corner and I get a drop-down menu. And the one that I use the most is with tables. So I'm going to click on table. And if you want to make a circle or a square, you really need to do it in a table because that's how the points get connected. So I'm going to enter my ordered pairs that I can use to make a rectangle. Okay, so I've got the points to make a rectangle, and my kids actually helped me with this in class one day when we were working on it. If I want to make a rectangle, I have to put this point down here because it's like giving directions on how you want Desmos to connect the points. So I've got all the points together. And then I'm going to go up here to the left circle, to the purple circle, and I'm going to left click on it and hold it down. And you have lots of options if you want to change the colors. I don't usually change the colors, but it's always an option. The kids will enjoy it. And I'm going to click on this option, and then I have a rectangle. So now I can practice with the kids area and perimeter. So we've gone from graphing to area and perimeter, as well as if you were using this maybe in 7th grade, again, you could start it in a different quadrant. The kids could reflect it across an axis. They could transform it and rotate it. They could translate it and slide it around on the coordinate plane. So this is kind of MSM1, MSM2. Last year, I'm going to get rid of the table now. And to do it, I just click the X. Okay, last year something I did a lot with the kids in algebra is we made rectangles and squares, but we had a little bit different approach to it since it was Algebra 1. And I did it by graphing lines, X and Y lines, so vertical and horizontal lines, which is a great review of slope. And then I showed the kids the restricting of the domain and range. And so then they figure this out really quickly, and a lot of it's like a computer, and they're just copying and pasting just like they would normally. And I've got my rectangle on the corner, or my square there. And so that's kind of one way I would do it with Algebra 1 students is you're still in the coordinate plane, you're still making shapes, but you're also using more of the curriculum because you're doing the equations of a line. You've got more domain and range there. So that's a little bit with tables, a little bit with graphing. I'm going to delete that. And the last thing I wanted to show is something I did for the first time a couple weeks ago. And it's part of it is a little beyond the scope of MSM1, but it engaged my students so much. We've been working on circles, and we actually figured out how to make circles on the coordinate plane by using the formula for the equation of a circle. So I'm going to enter it, and we did this. All my classes did it. So this was our lesson, something we did one day, is we made circles on the coordinate plane, and it goes with our geometry unit. And I put it up on the big dry erase board in the front of the room, and we labeled the radius, we labeled the diameter. Then the kids found the circumference of the circles, they found the area of the circles, and it was really kind of that next step of engaging the students, because it's not just like this random circle that I'm giving them, or it's a different way for them to look at it. And they love Desmos, they love working with it. So they made their own circles, and a lot of them figured out was a great exploration lesson. Well, I'm going to change the 5 to be a 6. Oh, that makes the circle bigger because we're changing the radius. The radius is now 6 instead of 5. And a lot of them will also figure out that the zeros control the center of the circle. So they can change these numbers and they change the center. So this part over here on the left is outside the scope of the MSM1 curriculum, but they figured it out and they had a great time finding the area and circumference of circles. So it was a little bit different approach, but definitely worth the time. The kids absolutely loved doing it. So those are a couple things just on the graphing calculator, especially how they relate to MSM1, but also some to MSM2 and to your algebra classes. So I am going to leave this calculator, and I'm going to go over to a different way that we can look at Desmos, and that's through Activity Builder. So as a teacher, to get to Activity Builder, you're going to teacher.desmos.com. And I am going to show you, because we're doing geometry, an area and perimeter activity that my kids did. So in a few minutes, you're going to have a chance to explore with this activity. This is a set of pre-made Desmos activities that the kids can work through at their own pace. You can use it as a way to introduce a lesson, as practice in a lesson. You can even use it as a formative assessment at the end of a lesson. So what the students get is they get a set of slides that have questions, and they just go through. They answer the questions. They type their answers right in. They can hit submit to teacher, but they don't have to hit submit to teacher. I wanted to show something that my kids did a few weeks ago. This is kind of something we did in the middle of the unit and then again at the end of the unit, where this is the response that I was getting at the beginning of the unit. We had a hard time figuring out positives and negatives, which points are in which quadrants. And then we did it again a couple weeks later as we were at the end of the graphing unit, and you can see the growth. So it's a great way, if you do it a couple of times, to see the growth over time. And what you'll do is, as a teacher, I'm going to open up a class that has, I'm going to open up this one. This is what we'll be in. Something to notice is once the kids sign in, you can anonymize it. So if you have, you want to go over something, but you don't want all of the students to know who typed that answer in, you can just anonymize it, and then no one knows who that response belongs to, whether it was really great or it's an area for growth. You can also, this is one of my favorite things, when you want to talk, you can pause the class, and it really makes them stop and focus on whatever you're talking about. They can't just move on. They have to stop and listen. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually have the participants go to the site that I give in a minute, and you're going to be able to work through the area and perimeter lesson on the coordinate plane. So I am going to leave this screen up. This is going to be your joining code, and I'm going to go back to Stephanie.
All right, Julia, thank you very much for sharing about Desmos. I've used it with great fun and success in many classes. You can see just the myriad activities that you can apply with it. So what we want now is we'd like you guys to go to student.desmos.com, and you can type in the join code V6UJD. It's also in the Google Classroom if you'd like to, and I'm going to show it very quickly if anyone's still on here, V6UJD. And you will then continue without signing on. So we're all going to be in Desmos trying this activity together. Julia and I will be monitoring Google Classroom if you have questions that you want to ask us. And we look forward to seeing you in Desmos. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Julia. Thanks, Stephanie.
Bye. Bye.
Great
Bye.
job on Digital Learning Day.